I have listened attentively and with respect to many of the speeches made here, and sometimes I have felt as if I was being buffeted by the ice winds of the Cold War. Coming from a warm country, I have shivered occasionally at these cold blasts. Speaking here in this assembly chamber, an old memory comes back to me. In the fateful summer of 1938, I was a visitor at a meeting of the League of Nations in Geneva. Hitler was advancing then and holding out threats of war. There was mobilization in many parts of Europe, and the tramp of armed men was being heard. Even so, the League of Nations appeared to be unconcerned and discussed all manner of subjects except the most vital subject of the day. The war had not started then. A year later, it descended upon the world with all its thunder and destructive fury. After many years of carnage, the war ended and a new age was ushered in by the terrible experience of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Fresh from these horrors, the minds of men turned to thoughts of peace, and there was a passionate desire to put an end to war itself. The United Nations took birth on a note of high idealism embodied in the noble wording of the character. But there was also a realization of the state of the post war world as it was. Therefore, provision was made in the structure of the organization to balance certain conflicting urges. There were permanent members of the Security Council, and there was provision for unanimity amongst the great powers. All this was not very logical, but it represented certain realities of the world as it was, and because of this, we accepted them. At that time, large areas in Asia and even more so in Africa were not represented in the United Nations, and they were under colonial domination. Since then, the colonial part of the world has shrunk greatly, and we now welcome here many countries from Africa in their new freedom. The United Nations have become progressively more representative, but must remember that even now it is not fully so. Colonialism still has its strong footholds in some parts of the world, and racialism are still prevalent, especially in Africa. The United Nations has often been criticized for its structure and for some of its activities. The structure of the United Nations, when it started, was weighted in favor of Europe and the Americas. It did not seem to us to be fair to the countries of Asia and Africa, but we appreciated the difficulties of the situation and did not press for any changes. With the growth of the United Nations and more countries coming in, its structure today has become still more unbalanced. Even so, we wish to proceed slowly and with agreement, and not to press for any change which would involve an immediate amendment of the Charter and the raising of heated controversies. Unfortunately, we live in a split world which is constantly coming up against the basic assumptions of the United Nations. We have to bear with this and try to move even more forward to the conception of full cooperation between nations. That cooperation does not and must not mean any domination of one country by another, any coercions or compulsion forcing a country to line up with another country. Each country has something to give and something to take from others. The moment coercion is exerted on a country, not only is its freedom impaired but its growth suffers. We have to acknowledge that there is great diversity in the world, and that this variety is good and is to be encouraged so that each country may grow and its creative impulse, which might have full play in accordance with its own genius. Hundreds and thousands of years of history have conditioned us in our respective countries, and our roots go deep down into the soil. If these roots are pulled out, we wither. If these roots remain strong and we allow the winds from four quarters to blow in upon us, they will yield branch, flower, and fruit. Many of the speakers from this forum have surveyed the world scene and spoken on a variety of problems. I would like to concentrate on what I consider the basic problem of all. My mind is naturally filled with problems of my own country and our passionate desire to develop and to put an end to the poverty and low standards of living which have been a curse to hundreds of millions of our people. To that end, we are laboring as indeed other underdeveloped countries are doing. Even so, there is something else which we consider is of greater importance, that is peace. Without peace, all our dreams vanish and are reduced to ashes. The Charter of the United Nations declares our determination to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war and reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights. Foreign policy cannot be divorced from a country's internal policy. Any country, any government, any political party must decide what it believes, conviction or belief. What is our foreign policy? Some people take the word non-alignment and think that is the whole of our foreign policy. In a way, it is not the word non-alignment, but what non-alignment stands for, namely that we believe in independently judging all issues. We do not wish to be tied to any group or to any country. We are today nearer to 21st century than we are to the 19th. But unfortunately, we find that over large portion of the world thinking is still very much in the 19th century. The world has changed. We helped to change it because of India's freedom movement, because of India becoming free and other countries in Asia and Europe becoming free. This has been the greatest change in the world. Although it was obvious to us that we would become free and that our freedom would lead to the freedom of other countries, this process came somewhat as a shock to the colonial power. For some time they seemed to be stunned by that shock, but it has not taken long for them to recover. And since they have recovered, we see another very subtle changes coming over the world, rather dangerous changed colonialism. This has actually happened in some places, and in other places there have been attempts that it should happen. Therefore, the difficulties before the developing countries are still very great. And we can face them out merely by idealism, not merely by sentimentalism, but by very clear thinking and hard-headed analysis of the situation. I am glad that the seminar has had the benefit of the analysis of the various people who have spoken here about different problems in different parts of the world. I am told that there were certain criticisms. We are used to criticism of our foreign policy because any independent path is so much more difficult to pursue and so much more difficult for people to understand than if we follow some beaten path. There are those who say that non-alignment has not served for our purpose or it has not been a success. Many of those who have been against non-alignment all these years and who criticized my father and myself for trying to pursue this path are today not attacking non-alignment as such, but are saying that we are not truly non-aligned. The great attack today, the greatest weapon which is used against foreign policy is to say that in effect we are following the Soviet line. Perhaps they think their saying so will frighten us into trying to give up our friendship with the Soviet people. Perhaps they merely think that they will be able to blow up the image of independence which we have amongst our own people and amongst the world. Let us very clear that regardless of what our big newspapers say here, the image of India is very clear outside. It is not an image of a country which follows any group or country. It is an image of a country standing or trying to stand squarely on its own feet. It does not mean that they always think we are right. Many of the countries think that we make mistakes, and on many occasions we go wrong. On all the occasions when we seem to support the Western countries, it is the Eastern group which says we have gone wrong and we have not been strong enough. On those occasions when we have supported the Soviet people, more likely the African Asian countries, the Western world thinks we have gone wrong.